You work out. You dress well. You've got your life together. People tell you you're good-looking, yet somehow you're sitting home alone on Saturday night while your average-looking friend is in a happy relationship. What the hell is going on? Here's what nobody's telling you. Being attractive can actually make dating harder. Not easier, harder. And before you think I'm crazy, stick with me, because I'm about to explain the psychological trap that attractive men fall into that completely sabotages their dating success. This isn't some feel-good, looks don't matter nonsense. Looks absolutely matter. But there's a dark side to being attractive that creates specific problems most people never talk about. And if you're good-looking but struggling with dating, you're about to have a light bulb moment that explains everything. Let's break down why your attractiveness might be your biggest obstacle. 1. The paradox of options. Here's the first brutal truth. When you're attractive, you have more options but fewer connections, and your brain can't tell the difference between the two. Think about it. You walk into a bar or open a dating app and you get attention. Matches, glances, interest. Your brain interprets this as success. But here's the trap. That attention doesn't translate to actual dates or relationships because you're playing the game completely wrong. When you're attractive, you get used to people being interested in you based purely on looks. So you never develop the skills that actually create attraction beyond the physical. You never learn to be genuinely interesting because your face did the work for you. You never developed compelling conversation skills because people stuck around anyway. You never learned to create emotional connection because physical attraction kept things going initially. Meanwhile, your average-looking friend, he had to develop personality. He had to become interesting. He had to learn how to create genuine connection because looks alone weren't getting him anywhere. And ironically, those are the skills that actually build relationships. You're like someone born wealthy who never learned to make money. Sure, you've got the asset, but you don't know how to leverage it properly. And when initial attraction fades, as it always does, you've got nothing underneath to maintain interest. Here's where it gets worse. The abundance of options makes you picky about the wrong things. You're swiping left on people who might be genuinely compatible because you're focused on finding someone as physically attractive as the attention you receive suggests you deserve. You're optimizing for looks because that's the currency you trade in, while missing the people who'd actually make you happy. 2. The entitlement trap. The second reason attractive men struggle is what I call the entitlement trap. And this one's uncomfortable, so stay with me. When you're good-looking, people treat you differently your entire life. Teachers were nicer to you. You got away with more. People laughed at your jokes even when they weren't funny. You received positive attention without having to earn it. Over time, this creates a subtle but toxic sense of entitlement that completely kills attraction. Here's how this shows up in dating. You expect women to do the heavy lifting conversationally because you're used to people working to keep your attention. You show up looking good and think that should be enough. You get frustrated when women don't immediately fall for you because you're not used to having to actually try. But here's the reality. Women, especially attractive women, deal with good-looking men constantly. Your looks might get you in the door, but they don't keep you there. And when you show up with an entitled attitude, expecting your attractiveness to carry the interaction, women sense it immediately and it repels them. You know what's actually attractive? Effort, investment, genuine interest in who she is, rather than expectation that she should be grateful for your interest. But entitlement makes you approach interactions backwards. You're interviewing her to see if she meets your standards, rather than creating an experience where she wants to be chosen by you. Women can smell entitlement from a mile away, and it doesn't matter how good-looking you are. Entitled energy kills attraction faster than anything else because it signals that you think you're the prize without having to actually be the prize beyond your appearance. 3. The intimidation factor. Here's the third reason, and this one might surprise you. Your attractiveness intimidates people in ways that work against you. When you're very attractive, potential partners assume you're out of their league or that you have tons of options, so they don't invest effort or put themselves out there. They protect themselves from rejection by not getting too interested. They assume you're probably a player or not serious about relationships, because why would someone who looks like you settle down? This creates a weird dynamic where people are interested but not invested. They're keeping you at arm's length emotionally because they don't want to be one of many or get hurt when you inevitably move on to someone else. So you end up with surface-level interactions that never deepen into actual connection. Meanwhile, you interpret this emotional distance as lack of interest, so you don't invest either. You're both protecting yourselves, and nothing genuine ever develops. You're having plenty of first dates, but nothing that goes anywhere because neither person is willing to be vulnerable first. Here's the kicker. This dynamic makes you seem even more aloof and unavailable, which reinforces the cycle. People see you as the attractive person who's emotionally distant, never realizing that you're distant because they're treating you like you're unattainable. 4. The shallow interaction problem. The fourth reason attractive men struggle is that your looks attract the wrong kind of attention and filter out the right kind. When people are initially drawn to you primarily for looks, you're attracting people who prioritize physical appearance. These aren't necessarily the people who'd be best partners or most compatible with you, but they're the ones filling your dating pool because physical attraction is what's pulling them in. Meanwhile, people who value deeper qualities, who'd actually be compatible with your personality and values, might not approach you because they assume you're only interested in equally attractive people or that you're shallow because of how you look. This creates a selection bias where your dating pool is skewed towards superficial people, while people of substance assume you're not interested in substance. You're getting attention from exactly the wrong people for the wrong reasons. And here's where it gets really problematic. These shallow interactions reinforce your own worst tendencies. When everyone's responding to your looks, you start defining yourself by your looks. Your identity becomes wrapped up in being attractive, and you never develop the deeper qualities that make someone genuinely interesting and relationship-worthy. You become a prettier package with less substance inside, and at some point, even you start to sense that something's missing, that these interactions feel hollow, but you don't know how to fix it because you've been coasting on looks for so long. 5. The skill deficit. Here's the brutal fifth truth. Attractive people often have underdeveloped social skills specifically because they never needed to develop them. Your average-looking friend learned to read body language carefully because he had to know if someone was interested. He developed humor because it was his way of creating attraction. He learned to ask good questions and listen actively because personality was his primary tool. You never had to develop these skills at the same level. Your looks opened doors, so you never learned to pick locks. And now you're in situations where looks aren't enough and you don't have the skills to compensate. This shows up in concrete ways. You might not be great at reading subtle social cues because people were usually overtly interested. You might not be particularly funny because your jokes always landed on your looks alone. You might not be a great conversationalist because people were happy just looking at you. These skill deficits become obvious once you're past the initial attraction phase. You get the first date easily, but can't convert it to a second because you didn't develop the social skills that create genuine connection. And you're confused because your attractiveness always worked before, not realizing it was only ever working to get you in the door, not to keep you in the room. Being attractive is an advantage in many ways, but in dating it creates specific challenges that most people never talk about. The entitlement trap, the skill deficit, the intimidation factor, the shallow interactions, the commitment perception, and the comparison game all work together to make dating harder rather than easier for attractive men. The good news? Once you're aware of these dynamics, you can address them. You can develop the skills you bypassed. You can check your entitlement. You can focus on genuine connection over physical attraction. You can become not just attractive, but genuinely magnetic. Your looks got you here. But developing substance, social skills, and genuine interest in others will get you where you actually want to be. In a meaningful relationship with someone who appreciates all of you, not just what you look like. If this explains something you've been experiencing, hit subscribe and drop a comment. Which of these reasons resonated most with you? Let's talk about it.